How Mitakuyepi. Hello everyone and welcome to the question answer video number 8. I was recently contacted by a young Lakota person, and this person asked me a really good question, and what they said is something that always concerned me too. Even when I still lived on a reservation, I had the same thoughts that this young person is having now. So I want to let you know, I'm talking to this person who contacted me, and I want to let you know you're not alone in your thoughts concerning what you asked me. And there are others who feel the same way too. On the reservations today, and even during the time when I lived there and before that, I think that when Indians started joining the military, you have to remember what happened at the beginning of the reservation. And during that time, the reservations were like prison camps. We were not allowed to leave those reservations. We had to stay where we were. We were not allowed to have anything that could be used as a weapon. So we couldn't go hunting. We were not allowed to eat the foods that our bodies were used to, like wild meat, wild game, wild vegetables, wild fruits. So because of that, we became physically weak. Then our language and ceremonies were against the law. We could not do those in public anymore. Some people still did that in private, in secrecy, but still it had an effect on us spiritually and emotionally. Now, when you look at the self, which you can see this medicine wheel here, I like to use this because it's really a foundation for our way. In the self, we have the 4 parts. This medicine wheel can represent the 4 parts of the self. And one part, let's say, could be the physical part. Okay? Let's say this represents the physical part, the yellow. And so we couldn't eat the healthy food, so we became sick here. Yeah, we were only allowed to eat what the government gave us, which was really unhealthy stuff. And we were not allowed to do our ceremonies, so we were affected spiritually. Let's say the white represents the spiritual part of the self. So we were affected in these 2 parts of the self. And then we could not speak our language, so we were affected emotionally. So let's say the red is the emotion part of ourselves. So look at that. 3 of the 4 parts of the self became sick. Yeah, we developed diseases like high blood pressure, heart diseases. These are still problems today. And that leaves 1 part left, the mind, the mental part of the self. So when these 3 got sick, we became weak-minded. So the whole medicine wheel of ourselves, of our people, is sick. It's diseased. What happens to one side affects the others. Remember I said we were sick in these 3 parts. And so because of that, we became weak-minded in those days. So it was like we were ripe for being brainwashed, and that's what happened. So most of us today are either Christian or Christian influenced because of that. Yeah, that's what happened in the early days of the reservation. And so at that time, they put all the healers and in medicine people in the mental asylum in Canton, South Dakota. They sent them there to die. So where do we go for that now? And so we started going to church, because a church gave us an opportunity to meet our friends and relatives, because in those days we were separated and we were placed on parcels of land that were about 160 acres. Every family received a log cabin and certain things like that. And so we were always away from each other. So going to church allowed people to come together and see each other. And because we were sick in all four parts of the South, we started to believe what the priests were saying. And that's how we became Christian. You know, the Christian religions are patriarchal. The man is really like up here, and the woman is here, and children are down here, and animals are even lower. So it has that system in that kind of a belief. Whereas in Lakota, all of creation is on here. All the animals and plants and everything that moves and grows, and the winged and all two-leggeds, we're all on this. But look at that. We are all on the same level. Nobody is above the other. Nobody is above the other. We are part of this big family on our grandmother Earth. So what happens to one side affects the others. And like I said, in Lakota, it's like this, that everything is connected to each other, that how we live our lives affects everything around us and everything inside of us too, because remember, this is the four parts of the self. So how we live affects everything inside of us and everything around us. That's Mitakuyepi. All my relations, everything is connected. So that's why this is really a foundation for us. So we became Christian, we became patriarchal, and we started to view ourselves as above the women too. That's how it was back then. And of course today, some people are doing the opposite. Yeah, they're putting women above. And they think that's the ancestral way. No, it's not. In the ancestral way, everybody is important. Nobody is above the other. The men are not above the women. Women are not above the men. And early anthropologists, when they came to observe us, they couldn't tell what we were. They couldn't tell if we were matriarchal or patriarchal. Sometimes it looked like we were patriarchal, but then other instances it would look like we were matriarchal, but they realized, hey, these Lakota people, there's something else. Yeah? And I don't mean that in a bragging way. Yeah, oh, there's something else. No, we were different. Yeah, we were not like other cultures. Because there are a lot of native cultures that are matriarchal. It works for them. But for us, our belief system can really be summed up in the story called When the Moon Cried. I'll put a link to that in the description to this video, okay? If you haven't heard that story. It's really good. And the video, I think it starts with a song that I wrote called When the Moon Cried. And after the song is the story that talks about that. So we're not following this, yeah? Like I said, a lot of us today are Christian or Christian influenced. And in that way, we put man high, then the woman, then the children, and then animals. And even if we say, Mitakuyepi, they still are influenced by this Christian way because of what happened in the early days of the reservation. There was a brainwashing that happened back then, and we're still feeling the effects of that today. So now, when World War I came around, Indian men all over America signed up to join the military. Why? That's the same military that slaughtered our ancestors. So why did they do that? I'm not disagreeing. It's a question. And I think people who join the military, it would be good for you to explain to us who didn't. What was your reason? I try to give the ancestral perspective on this channel, on my YouTube channel. And yes, today we are American, and we try to do our best with everything. We speak English. Some of us still speak our native language. But this military question is a good question. And so when these men would come back, if they came back alive, they were honored, and they formed warrior societies. Everybody puts them up on a pedestal. So when you go to powwows, you see American flags on every pole. This is somebody who was a veteran, or they died in the war, and their family is asked to let the powwow use their flag, so they put it up to honor that person. I really have a difficulty with that personally, because I think of all the ancestors who were killed under that flag. And how is that honoring them? Some of these people were good people. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just wondering about the reason. Not the person, but the reason for doing that. So then they honor these people. And yet there are people on the reservations who've never been in the military. They try to live a spiritual life by going to ceremonies. And they're trying to be traditional. They're trying to learn the language. They're trying to keep it going, the culture. But yet, when they form warrior societies in this modern day, it's usually the veterans that they're honoring, that they use for those societies. Whereas these people who are trying to preserve our ways are not included. And if they try to form their own society, then these people, the military ones, I think they kind of look down on them and say, you're not the warriors. We went to war. We fought for your freedom so that you could do the things you do. But still, that's the flag, that they murdered our ancestors. They brutally murdered them. You have to remember that. It's sad to me that on the reservations, they're more into honoring the veterans and putting them in some kind of a warrior society. And then they just focus on them. Whereas in the ancient times, the warrior societies, they focused on a certain group. Each warrior society focused on a certain group of the Tioshbai. For example, one would focus on the old people, making sure they have their needs met. Another one may be focusing on the children. Another one may be focusing on the women or those who are sick. Everybody had a focus group. They focused on them. And when they honored the warriors would get up and they would make a speech. Wakte oglake, they call this. It's kind of like, this is what I did one time. I went among the Crow and they were all asleep, the Crow Indians, and I took off with all their horses. And then he would end his speech with, Unipikta chale chamuelo. I do this so that we will live. He doesn't say, I do this because that's how great I am. That's what happens today. I'm really great. That's the attitude today. But in the ancient times, he would make a speech, but he would end it with that expression. And then the people are like, we're protected, we're loved, we're cherished, we're acknowledged as important. The warriors always say, I do this for you, for us, so that we will live. That's a big difference than what they do today. And I think that's what needs to come back. And look at the people who are the warriors. Just because somebody joins the military, does that mean they're the only warriors? And just because you didn't join the military, you're not a warrior? Is that what that means? No, it's not. There are people who are doing everything they can to save the language because it's in a very difficult situation. There are people who are doing what they can to save what we have spiritually, culturally, because of the ancestors and the descendants, those who are still yet to come. Those are the warriors. Nobody talks about them today. And nobody does anything to help them because we got a lot of troubled youth out there. They're crying for help, even though they're not saying it, but inside, they're crying for it. Why aren't these warriors doing anything about it? And if they say something, it's usually only to their family. That's not the Lakota way to exclude people. So for those of you out there who are living on reservations and you're an adult, and it would be good to take a look at this medicine wheel. It represents the 4 stages of life too. When we're born, the babies, the adolescents, the young people, the adults, and our elders. They're all connected to each other. That's the beauty of the medicine wheel. It teaches that everything is connected. And so those of us who are adults and we have the ability, the capability to do something for those others. Some old people, they can't do what they used to do anymore. The babies have just arrived. The young people are going through difficulty. The teenage years, because we eat unhealthy foods. When you eat unhealthy food, it does something to you, yeah, emotionally too, and physically, and mentally. So these are things us adults need to think about. That's one reason why I have this YouTube channel, to talk about things like this and to get the message out there from our ancestors through the stories and the teachings. You don't have to be in the military to be a warrior. It all starts with you, within yourself. This is you. Take care of the 4 parts of yourself, physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. Don't judge things as good and bad, because things that are difficult, you can learn from that. And as anytime you learn something, even if it's learning how not to do something, that's still wisdom. It can lead to something nice. It starts within you. This is how you get your heart and your mind to talk to each other, to make that connection. And then you see you have clarity. So that you're taking care of yourself, starting within, because first Lakota Star Knowledge concept, reality begins within. And now you'll think of ideas, inspiration will come to you. What can you do? Look around you, and what can you do? It all starts with one person. And the way you live can influence others, because look, we're all connected to each other. This represents the inside of us, and this also represents around us too. When I still lived on the reservation, there was a group of men that wanted to start a fatherhood society. That's what that's called, a fatherhood society. And they asked me to be a part of that, and I was like, yes, I wholeheartedly would like to join this. And we had meetings, and everybody got a chance to talk and say whatever was on their minds, and it was a good meeting. So a big turnout. A lot of men from the community and young men were there too. And I thought, wow, this is great. This needs to happen. So we started organizing. We were going to form into a non-profit to get funds to help build something or do things, do activities or whatever to get the young people involved. And when the organizing started, we were talking about, we have to live what we teach. And I think that's the part that people weren't ready for yet. Because there were some guys in the group that, of course, they didn't want to give up their alcohol. Some people were, I'm talking about men, okay, not young guys. I'm talking about the men. There were some men they didn't want to give up their alcohol. They didn't want to give up their drugs. They didn't want to give up their cigarettes, because that's not traditional either. That is not the same as smoking a pipe. You don't put cigarette tobacco in a pipe. You put something called chanshasha, and that's not tobacco. And so when they realized that, that's when things started to fall apart. And that made me sad. And as some men started to not come back anymore, well, their sons didn't want to be a part of it either. And their cousins. And next thing you know, there was just maybe 2-3 of us were there. And we were like, I don't know, It was tough. And I was really sad that didn't get off the ground. But it's still possible. So this is something I would like you adults to think of, because this is where the real warriors are. People who fight for the children, people who fight for the old people, people who fight for the sick, the babies. These are the warriors. And you don't need to be in the military for that. Strive to learn your language, whatever tribe you come from. Strive to learn of your culture. When we see things in good versus evil, that's a sign that there's a problem. Because in the ancient way, that didn't exist. It's healthy and unhealthy. And you can learn from unhealthy. Dualism is only seeing things in two groups. And one side is saying, I'm right and you're wrong. And I will prove you're wrong. And if you don't agree with me, then I will destroy you. Think of that thinking. Look at the world today. Can you see that thinking involved in almost every war today? My gosh, that's duality. And people will say, if you're not with me, then you're against me. Another statement is, if you're not part of the solution, then you're part of the problem. That's duality. In the ancient way, based on star knowledge, there's always going to be at least 3 perspectives. Most of the time, it's 4. And many times, it's even more than that. But it's never 2. There's always going to be at least 3. So that's why when you look at separating everything into 2 groups, then you're closed-minded. You're not seeing the true beauty of reality, which I like to call truality. So as you start to do that, you get to know yourself. You have to come to peace with your past. That's also part of getting your heart and mind to meet and really see reality. And when you live this way, then you know what love is. That love includes difficulty. Difficulty is not a bad thing. You can learn from it, and you gain wisdom and knowledge, and then you can use that to help others, to guide them. This is our way. This is the ancestral way. So these are the warriors, people who say, Unipikta chalechamuelo. I say that too when I make these videos. I made this channel, Chin Unipikta chalechamuelo, because I want us to live. That's why I do this. When people talk like that, and then they live it, that also means I take care of myself so that we can live. The focus starts within here. And then you start attracting things, because like attracts like. That's the second Lakota Star Knowledge concept. After you start your healthy lifestyle and continue nurturing it, you start attracting things that are the same. They find each other. And that's how it begins. We need to start honoring ourselves so that we can honor others. And what's happening now is that people just honor others. Look at how good they are. We put them on a pedestal. And they're going to be in some society and they meet exclusively. They're the elite. See, that's what's happening, and that's not our ancestral way. And again, it starts within you. As I said, what happened at the beginning of the reservation, everything happened fast. We couldn't speak our language, our ceremonies were illegal, and these were prison camps back then, and we could not leave them. We're not allowed to have any kind of weapons. So we couldn't go hunting. We were starving. And the only food that we had was what the government gave to us, which was really unhealthy. And the government no longer recognized our chief systems. We were placed far apart from each other, living in these parcels of land. So we couldn't see each other. And our Tioshpai system started to break down. So a lot of things happened that was traumatic. And as I said, we became weak-minded and we started to believe what the preachers were saying. We were struggling. Some of us wanted to fit in as best as we could for the sake of our children. Some of us were trying to hang on to the old ways, and it was awful. And the children who went to boarding schools, they were traumatized there. They were beaten for even talking about their homes. And a lot of times when these children came back from the boarding schools, they didn't fit in anymore. Their own people would be telling them, hey, you're acting like a white person. If they tried to work in the non-native world, they would be told, you're not good enough, you're an Indian, you don't belong here. So they didn't belong anywhere. So it was really difficult. And alcohol was a way to numb themselves from this trauma, from this pain. And alcoholism really became a problem, and it still is a problem. And now it's also with drugs, with this meth that's on reservations today. Another thing is that there are people who are in denial, that this is their way of dealing with it. They want to say that that never happened. And it's really all pointing to the same thing, that it was a very traumatic experience when we came to this new lifestyle on the reservation, and when the tribal governments were instituted by Washington, D.C., it was a new way, and it favored only a certain few people. And so we always have this us against them thing. It was really hard. It's difficult. So then people tried to take some things from the past and adapt it to the present. Like I said earlier, with these warrior societies, and it only favors the veterans. And it really sets up an unhealthy foundation, and not much can grow from there. I mean, there's beautiful things on the reservation, don't get me wrong, but there's also a lot of unhealthy things too. And when you look around you, this is true for everybody, no matter where you live on this earth. When you look around you and you see the situation, there's problems everywhere. And there's also nice things. In some places, it's hard to find the nice things, but they are there. And to institute a change, it begins within. We have a universe inside of us. We have a Tioshpaye inside of us, and an extended family inside of us. And natural law says that whatever is inside of us, this comes out, and it's the foundation to how we view the world and how we live our lives. So to start to deal with this situation begins within. It just takes one person. And you look at yourself, and as I always been doing through this video, using this medicine wheel with the 4 parts of the self, the first thing it could represent is you, your 4 parts of yourself. Do your best to take care of it. So when you do that, you have peace, which is in the middle. And pray, and you hope for solution. Next comes the second Lakota Star Knowledge concept, which is like attracts like. So when you are healthy and you're taking care of yourself, you're going to attract something like-minded too, something like this too. So that's how you'll get your help to do something, and they may be looking for your help too. See, you attract each other, you find each other. So it starts within you. You hope, you pray for solution to the situation, whatever it is, and do the best that you can in your life with what you can do. This is also taking responsibility for your life. You are, number one, taking care of yourself and having some hope. And sometimes we feel a little bit down. That's okay. We can do something. If you have to cry, cry. If you have to get angry, do that. If you're scared, feel it, but bring your mind in too and start thinking of things. What can you do with what you have? You help others with what you can do, and try to picture in your mind how you would like things to be. Visualize that. You can take time during the day, and you can do this as many times as you want, and you can go someplace, you can be any place where you're alone, and visualize how you would like things to be. You can do this for your own life as well, but you can also do this for the people, and send out a prayer. Talk to them. The Grandmother Earth, she wants to hear you. The above, Dakushkashka, wants to hear you. The 4 grandfathers who made the 4 directions, they all want to hear you. And I have a video about praying, and I will put that link in the description below. It's a way to start. You send a prayer out. The smallest thing can really have a big impact, a great result. So this is something we can do. Now, as I said, what happened at the beginning of the reservation, it happened so fast. This change of lifestyle from something healthy to unhealthy, everything that happened that I explained, it created an addictive way of thinking. So this is why we have these traumas. This is why we have things like anxiety, and we have addictions and all this. But all of these things, it takes us away from our inner self. It takes us away from that, and our medicine wheel then becomes weak. And then when we are looking around, we're looking through weak eyes. And then we start thinking, oh, nothing ever good's going to happen. No. So we have to get out of that way of thinking And the way that starts is by going within yourself. And that's what I was explaining before. So first we start with ourselves, and then we come up with ideas. Anybody out there, wherever you are, pray for your situation and what's around you. Like attracts like, yeah? You will find solutions. When you take care of yourself, your total self, when you do that, you have love for yourself. And then when you do your visualizations and your prayers, visualize a healthy situation to come to the people. Visualize that. Send love to that visualization, that this is what you hope will happen. Think of that and send love. Even when these people are putting you down, or they're making fun of you, or talking bad, as long as you love yourself, this stuff, it's words, yeah, it's hurtful, but love yourself first before you answer that. Love yourself first and say, wait a minute, no, I'm a good person, I'm a nice person, and I love myself. And then while you're doing that, visualize sending love to everything around you, including these people who are putting you down, because they are looking through clouded eyes. They're unhealthy. Their medicine wheel is weak, so they don't see right. They don't see reality the way it really is. They're not seeing the true beauty that's all around them. But if you take care of yourself, you will see that true beauty. And so they're talking out of fear, out of pain and anger, but they're not talking from love. They're not talking from clarity. So it's important that you talk from clarity. So when these hurtful things come, love yourself. Remember, you are a good person. You are healthy. You are a blessing. And when you take care of yourself, you really communicate that you are a blessing. And part of doing that is sending love back, no matter what comes. But first you have to love yourself. Because if you don't love yourself and you try to just send love to other people, see, you don't really have a foundation. And if all you're doing is sending love, but you don't love yourself, then you're going to fall into the codependent road, which is an unhealthy road. You're going to take your steps in that direction. So first, love yourself. Do those things you can do to take care of yourself. And like I said, when these hurtful words come, let them come, but remember to love yourself. And then these words go right through. They don't stay in you. They go right through because you love yourself. You're taking care of yourself. And then you send your love out. It will have an impact. Like I said, especially in visualizations, sing of a situation you would like to happen. And the energy goes out, it will touch somebody. It's one of the reasons why I make these videos, so that it goes out and maybe somebody learns something from these videos and it does something so that they improve their lifestyle. That's the reason for this channel. And you can do that too. You can influence things to happen by how you live. Because how you live, that sends the energy out. If you're living a healthy way, it's sending the energy out. And somebody will pick up on that. And it might be somebody who lives far away will feel it. Because love doesn't know time and space. It's a beautiful thing about love. When you send it out, whether it's a prayer or a visualization or both, it will find somebody. And somebody will help. something or somebody will come to you and will help you find a solution to the problem. So I encourage you, hang in there as best as you can. There's difficulty everywhere, but it depends on how we look at it. And how we look at it, that is based on how we take care of ourselves. So take care of yourself first. Learn to love yourself and be honest with yourself. So after this really fast transformation happened on the reservations, it created a new normal. And that new normal is based on unhealthy living. Before the reservations, we were doing our best with our medicine wheels. We were healthy. We still had difficulty. Yeah, difficulty always is there, no matter if you're healthy or unhealthy. It's how you deal with it. So when you're healthy, you can learn from it and make the best of it, and it becomes knowledge and wisdom. And that's how we lived before the reservation time. But after the reservation time began, our holy people were thrown in a mental asylum. Our language was illegal. Our spirituality is illegal. We could not eat healthy foods. So that was the new normal. And so when that happens, our medicine wheels became weak. And we started communicating from a weak foundation and started to go against each other. Before we went against each other, we went against ourselves, because reality begins within. So we have to undo that. We have to unlearn these unhealthy things that we are doing. We have to learn, how did that happen? And that's why I talk about these things on this channel. So when we do start taking care of ourselves, then we come back to how our ancestors were. Even though we're living in this modern world, we can still come back to this healthy way. It's the inside. This is what's important, inside, because reality begins within. So then we can return to the normal that we had before the reservation time period and still live in this modern world. So it just takes one of us to do it, to try it, so that we find each other and then come up with ideas to make our own societies based on this. So the warrior societies that exist today, when they see this happening, maybe that'll change them and they'll think more to help everybody. You can't force others to change, and complaining about it doesn't get very far. But first you can change yourself to a healthier way of living. And like I said, you will find others, because like attracts like. And then you can start forming your own groups to help others. And now we're on the road to how our ancestors used to be. And this would be good for our descendants. So our descendants can look back and say, wow, look at what happened. On the reservations, they lost everything, but somehow they got it back. And because they got it back, we're living a healthy way. So we can do this for ourselves and also for our descendants. And this is how we honor our ancestors. Isn't that cool? You have a really good opportunity in front of you. Well, I should say, we have a really good opportunity in front of us. So let's do that. I do that. I'm visualizing this. Do that with me. We do this together. Let's send our prayers out and send our love in our prayers and visualizations and meditations for a healthy future, because the future depends on how we're thinking right now. So to influence that, this is where we have power. We have to be healthy first. We have to love ourselves first. Then we can visualize this. It all begins within. So let's do that and do what we can do in our lives to influence that. It begins by living a healthy life, taking care of yourself. That's where it begins. Then you'll come up with other ideas to do this. So there is hope. We can change this to something really healthy. We can do this. One more time. The babies, the teenagers, the adults, our elders. We have to have hope. And we nurture that hope by taking care of the full parts of ourselves. Mentally, spiritually, physically, and emotionally. Inside there, the middle, that's your sacred center. That's your seventh direction. You have your four directions, and then up, Grandmother Earth. When I say up, that's not God, okay? That's Wakantanka. It's an organization. There's a group of people up there. It's not just one. There's a bunch of people in this thing, okay? So that's why I say it like that. That's the Wakantanka. It's a group. And then we're in the middle. You are in the middle of that. That's why you're the seventh direction. And so to really live that, we got to take care of our four parts as best as we can. Our bodies, our minds, and our emotions, and our souls. We have to do this as best as we can. Try our best, because we all need each other. No matter what activities these teenagers are doing, we have to help them, because they're forming. They're going to come here, and we have to guide them through this process. When you can find an elder who's healthy, you can talk to them for advice and how they see things. Because we're all connected. We're all connected. When you do this, then you can say, Unipikta chalechamuelo. Say that with me. One word at a time. Repeat after me, please. Unipi. One more time. Unipi. This means we live. Next word. Kta. This makes a sentence or a phrase or a word into future tense. Repeat after me. Kta. One more time. Kta. The next word, cha. This means so or therefore. Repeat after me. Cha. One more time. Cha. Next word, lechamu. This means I do this. Repeat after me. Lechamu. Lechamu. And then welo is the way men would end this sentence. Welo. So all you men, repeat after me, please. Welo. Again. Welo. Women, you would end this sentence by saying we. So all the women, repeat after me, please. We. One more time. We. Very good. So, all the men, repeat after me this sentence. Unipikta chalechamuelo. One more time. Unipikta chalechamuelo. Very good. All you women, repeat after me, please. Unipikta chalechamuwe. One more time. Unipikta chalechamuwe. Very good. So when you're doing something healthy, remember to say this and think of everybody, all age groups. Think of them. Even people in your own age group, think of them, because we're all experiencing difficulty at some point of our lives. Because that's part of life. Those are teaching experiences. They're there to help us even though it doesn't seem like it at the time. Okay? So, thank you for taking the time to listen to this video. I really enjoy talking with you like this, and in our way, like the circle, there's no end. So that's why we don't have a word for goodbye. So we say doksha ake, which is until next time. And with that, I'll catch you in the next video. Thank you very much for taking the time to listen to this video. I really appreciate it. And if you would like to send a special thanks in support of this channel, look at the bottom of this video where the title is, and right under that, where it says like, dislike, and share, right in that area, slide it towards the left, and you will see the symbols change, and then you will see a heart-shaped button that says thanks on it. If you would like to click on there to send your thanks of support, I would really appreciate it, as I really do enjoy making these videos and speaking with you and spending some time with you. So again, thank you very much for listening. To learn more about Lakota spirituality, I have written a book called Wichocha Otechike. This book also includes Lakota Star Knowledge information. All the videos that I make, which are about Lakota spirituality, Lakota Star Knowledge, and cultural information, are based on this book. This book costs 99 American dollars. This price includes the shipping cost. And to learn more about Lakota language, I have written a Lakota language book called Chante Etanha Owoglake, Speaking from the Heart. And all my Lakota language videos are based on this book. This book costs 119 American dollars. This price includes the shipping cost. I also teach online, and I give spiritual consultations as well. If you are interested in any of my services and products, you can send payment via PayPal to my email address, which is hehaka7@yahoo.com. That's HEHAKA, the number 7, @yahoo.com. When you send your payment, please include your shipping address and your email address. Ho, lila pilamayelo. Thank you very much. In the Lakota way, everything is circular. As a result, we do not have a word for goodbye in the Lakota language. And so instead we say until next time, which in Lakota is doksha ake. And I will catch you in the next video.